impacts to their mental health. But far from that, we're going to switch gears and get into politics and talk about youth in politics. Now, our next guest might not be a stranger to you if you are an avid user of social media. Her name is Anita Soina. She is a digital influencer. She's also wading into the murky waters of politics. She, far from that, is also an environmental climate justice advocate. So she's been working with local communities in Kajiado, if I'm not wrong, to ensure that we are doing right by our environment. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Okay, so you're young, you're soft-spoken. I mean, how even did you come around to the idea of getting into politics? We all know how it is characterized, both in the media and even in reality. It's nothing easy. Speak to us about what is inspiring you to get into politics.
First of all, I've been so passionate about politics for a very long time. I used to follow up politics from a young age, and I grew up at a setup where watching news, listening to radio was something that was sort of a must.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I grew up with, I stayed with my grandfather for some time. He was that person who really followed up politics. And I remember reading his eulogy. He was also a friend to Tom Mboya. So for me, politics hasn't really been something new. So I joined active politics in 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How old are you, by the way?
22.
Oh.
So now I was 17 then.
Oh my goodness.
So I was just doing the blogging online and just supporting people randomly, copying their campaign messages and pasting on my Facebook, and just being actively involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then from 2017, you're basically playing a backseat to the activities that were ongoing. And of course, being in social media, we all understand. We'll get into how social media actually affects the outcome of an election. There's so much to talk about on that front. But then let's move forward to 2022. You switch now from supporting and being behind the scenes to actually being in active politics and trying to run for office. Explain to us what inspired that transition.
Yeah, so I knew I was going to get into this space, but I didn't think it was going to be this soon. So during that journey, I tried to involve myself in a lot of community projects as a volunteer in so many organizations.
Yes.
And just trying to read and even understand about the challenges that people go through in Kenya, Africa, and even the world. So in the process, I realized that, okay, this leadership is a tool that is really key in solving most of the problems.
Right.
And I also realized that the culture of politics here in Kenya allows us to also start at least early, so you can be able to build a foundation. So I realized that before the next election, that is a whole 5 years. And I'll come back when I'll be 27. So why not start right now?
Building up the blocks. And far from politics, of course, you are very active in environmental conservation and climate justice. You're going to explain to us what that is. But before that, let's take a look at a snippet of one of the TED Talks that you have given. Let's cut to that and then come back for more with Sonia.
Possible that the most intelligent creature to ever walk the planet is destroying its only home. I see myself as the girl next door who's just a tad anxious about the idea of an exhausted earth. An exhausted mother with a little me means big task ahead. But I also see dangerous possibilities that blind my focus from her beauty and strength. Earth, which is a home to all of us, is supposed to be beautiful, but our actions have made it ugly. A mother having 10 children, with 9 of them mistreat her, can be compared to the number of the people responsible for the planet's destruction versus the few people struggling to protect it. Chebet and Kibet from the same mother are expected to live happily. But human beings are killing and poaching their brothers and sisters from the same mother, Mother Earth. Millions of species are at a risk of extinction, and experts suggest that we are in the middle of the 6-month extinction caused by human activities. Scientists are also warning that by 2030 we'll have the worst impacts of climate change, and that means we only have 9 years to act right so that we can prevent the worst impacts of climate change. And for me, conservation is not about the next generation. It is about my generation first and then the next generation, because in 2030, I'll be 30 years old. 3 years ago, I decided to dedicate all my birthdays to growing back the trees that my community had lost. This is when I turned 18. I also decided to educate them on the importance of conservation, and so far, with the help of my team, we've been able to plant 3,000 trees plus. In my community, a lot of people are still using firewood because they do not understand that we have alternative sources of fuel. And the few people who understand this look at these alternative sources of fuel as expensive.
Wow, you look so young there. How old were you there?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Yes, I was nervous because it was my first time doing, and then having in mind that this is a TEDx talk.
Yes,
Yes.
not just some random
Yes,
speech that you're
yes,
giving.
yes.
Yeah, but then, so that's a very loaded video clip. You can find it on YouTube. But then, explain to us, of course, why this is a matter that is so close to your heart. Climate justice, what is that even? And why should young people such as yourself even care?
First of all, maybe to make it clear, what climate justice is means to me is looking at the people who contribute less to climate change having to pay the bigger price. Looking at, for example, Africa contributing to about 3% of the global world emissions.
Yes.
But we are the ones who are having the side effects.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's just, that is exactly climate justice. And being a climate justice advocate is trying also to make sure that the people who are responsible for destroying the environment pay for the price.
Exactly.
So that's where the climate financing issue comes in, where we need Africa to be financed so we can be able to also cope up with these challenges.
Because
since
we are not responsible.
Yeah, we
for
are
the
not really responsible.
degradation,
Yes.
yes.
And also coming back to Africa as well, we can narrow down to when you look at the people who are affected, it's still the same people who least contribute, even just within Africa. For example, look at the people living around the lakes that have been affected by the rising lakes and all those other issues. I really discovered my passion for conservation after high school, after joining a program where young people are just being helped to at least discover their passion. At that time, I just wanted to do something to help the community, charity work and all that. So it's when I was introduced to the Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
And then reading through, the SDG 13 caught my attention, and that's when I learned about Wangari Maathai. Apart from the stories that we used to just hear when we were children about Wangari Maathai and all that, I got to understand why she was even fighting the fight. And looking at, I mean, the environment has to be okay for us to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, I feel like it's something that I should fight for, keeping in mind that we need everyone on board.
Right.
So if I start by being on board, and then someone else will come in, then we will be able to leave no one behind. Yes.
Absolutely. But then I'm sure you face an uphill task when it comes to convincing young people to actually care.
Yeah.
Because we've seen in that clip that you actually go out of your way to work with local communities. Many of these people are older, and of course there's need for financing. Speak to us first about influencing young people such as yourself to actually care.
Yeah, we're living in times where I think such matters really don't have attention from young people, and that is so sad.
They assume it's for the older people in boardrooms somewhere.
Yeah. So first of all, having not studied anything related to environmental science or wherever in campus, I have to start by educating myself every day, reading, looking for videos and all that to understand where we are, so I can keep up with it. And then
what did you study in university?
PR and corporate communication.
Okay.
Yes. So going down to people, we have to start simplifying the tough scientific language of conservation, because sometimes I also attend conferences and I miss a lot. So we try to simplify that tough language, and when you get down to people, young people still believe that it's a future problem. So trying to make them understand that whatever is happening right now, the rising lakes that you see, the change in weather patterns, trying to make them see the need to contribute is a problem. And also keeping in mind that I have been volunteering for a very long time. So telling someone that we can volunteer and do these together sounds so off to to most young people.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of trying to convince them that this is also giving back, and not only to other people but also to yourself. It becomes a challenge.
Absolutely. And even with volunteering, you know, there's no incentive. Just you working on passion, and that's fueling you. Speak to us about the active work that you do right now with those, for example, the women that we saw in that clip. I mean, how do you even go about the challenge of fundraising, or, you know, you need to put money into people's pocket, or is it, are the funds a result of the work that you're already doing? How does that work?
So when I started, I realized that it needs a lot of resources, but still I realized I can do something with little resources that I have. So I decided to focus first of all on tree growing, which may not really need a lot of funds, and having a group of volunteers who, most of them I got them from my online platforms. Now we became family, so we usually like have a contribution where every week we give happy and sad dollars. So how it works is, if there's something that makes you happy about the environment around you, or if you saw something exciting, even if it's in the global news and it's something exciting to the climate movement, you give a happy dollar. If there's something that made you sad, you give a sad dollar. So that way we fundraise, and then we are able to go around planting trees. And then we also try to seek partnership with small farmers who sell seedlings, because we also try to promote these people. We have a lot of people in the seedling business, but they don't have market, so they easily give up. And when they give up, they don't see the so they don't see the beauty of conservation anymore, because they have the business but they don't have the market. So we also try to work with them on a long-term agreements, so that we are able to also promote them. Then we also carry out activities such as cleanups. We have right now we are about 13 counties. We have 13 coordinators in 13 counties, all of them on voluntary basis. So we carry out activities also depending on the region. When we go to the coast, we plant mangroves and the cleanup activities. But most importantly, advocacy has also been our main activity.
Now, speak to us about the point of conjecture between conservation and climate justice and politics, because that's literally who you are. You are passionate about the environment, but now you seem to be crossing over to politics. Speak to us about how those two merge, and why it's important for leadership to actually pay attention to matters conservation.
So looking at the environmental challenges that we have, the environment being at the center, it has been able to affect other sectors, affecting the people directly, including food production, water shortage, even sanitation is an environmental problem. So looking at most of the challenges affecting the people are directly linked to environment. Also looking at the environmental challenges, if we have to solve them, because most of the time when we are even striking in the streets and all that, in our placards we usually write, "Dear leaders, dear world leaders, dear so and so." So clearly, why don't we have some of these people now crossing over to this side, so we don't have to do so much begging, crying, shouting, requesting, you know? So because if we are going to have some people from the climate movement joining the world of politics, then it becomes, maybe I can say, a bit easier. So if it means policies, we can be able to also influence from the corridors of power. So it's simply looking at solving the problems that are directly linked. All these things are intertwined together. So it's just trying to get to the right position where you can be able to provide more solutions.
Right now, Ms. Soina, you're from Kajiado County. Explain to us why Kajiado County, because if you're running for office from that locality, there's certain very specific issues that the environment in that area is facing. So if you are, as you say, having a seat at the table, what would you do, you know, to change things environmentally speaking?
So first of all, looking at Kajiado as a whole, as a county, it's a county where we have a lot of pastoralists who now have a problem finding even water and pasture for their cattle and all that. So we are also directly affected by climate change and environmental issues. When you come to the cosmopolitan side, we also have a lot of issues with water shortage. We have a lot of issues with sewer system and all that. So I believe ever since I started following up on politics, I have seen other leaders in other areas being able to deliver in areas that maybe have not been touched on or solved in our area.
Yes.
So first of all, it's just simply trying to understand that if the sewer system is a problem, how are we going to fix it? I believe it's something that can be done. Some things some roles belong to the county government, but I believe that there is something that we can influence in our positions. I believe in Parliament we can sponsor bills, we can push for bills that can be able to solve a lot of issues, and not even just the environment, looking at even the problems affecting women. How are we going to push and make sure we are trying to end the period poverty? How are we trying to help the women? How are we trying to help the youth? How are we even trying to help the old men and all that? So it's just looking at getting to Parliament, sponsoring the bills, being vocal and about the people's problems. And something beautiful is also we have created networks, both at the party and at my personal level. So we can also be able to connect the constituency, the country to people who are willing to help.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Who are not necessarily within our borders.
Within our borders. So that if we don't have, we have a lot of issues that there was no money when it comes to the county government politics, that the money was not there coming to the county government and all that. But we still have even NGOs that are willing to help.
Giving grants and what have you. Okay, let's talk about social media. You are a social media influencer. I mean, that is a tool that I don't think is used enough in this country. How can a young person or yourself use social media to influence change and, of course, pass their ideologies off to the people that they are hoping to get favor with?
Yeah, the world is, things are changing every day. We are heading, digital is becoming the new media. And I believe everybody with the little, it doesn't even matter about the followers and all that, but with the people that follow you, what are you trying to sell to them? What is that positive thing that you can live in people's lives and all that? So, first of all, when I started digital influencing, I was working in the gospel industry. 2017, December to 2018, and some part of 2019. So I used to help in marketing artists and running their pages. So that's how I learned how much social media is influential. So when I left that field and joined conservation, I also realized it's something that is helping. I get paid by organizations to also share about their work and campaigns in relation to sustainability and environmental conservation. So I think it's something that everybody can try and find their niche and try to sell something positive to the people.
Wow. And last but not least, you are young, you are, in politics, it gets rough. And of course, even social media, we all know what it can be sometimes. It can be a very good space, catalyst for change. It also can be a very toxic space. How do you navigate those challenges?
I think first of all, when you get to politics, the first thing that you should be ready for is to understand that they don't say politics is a dirty game. Politics is a dirty game. It's not just a saying. So by the time you get there, you have to prepare yourself. It's so sad that that is how it is, but we have to deal with it.
It's like what it is.
Yeah, it's like just sacrificing to get to where you want to get to. So I'd say it's not been easy, but I thank God that I've been able to understand. Even before I joined politics actively, I have always seen what is happening to other women in politics. So I think it's just to prepare psychologically and understand that people are different and people will come up with anything, people will say anything, and you just have to focus and know who you truly are. Because if you're going to focus on what everybody is saying, then I don't think, if I was to do that, I don't think I would even, I would just announce that I'm buying and the next day I'd be stepping down. So
because it gets really rough. And last but not least, what message would you have for a young person such as yourself? You started when you were 17. Maybe there's a 15-year-old somewhere who's thinking, maybe I should be a part of this. What message of encouragement would you give to them?
That maybe quoting Mahatma, I'll say, be the change that you want to see in the world. If that is the direction and you feel like you are passionate about it and you feel like you can do something about it, then just don't lose up, don't stop focusing, and just keep dreaming, keep believing, and then you will achieve it. also make sure you check on your role models or people that maybe inspire you. Then that way you can be able to understand how it is. Don't be scared of asking for advice. Don't be scared of looking out and asking people how it is. But politics, no lie, it's not easy.
Okay, clearly. Yes. I'll take it from you. You are young, but of course you're going at it, and of course there's no need for anyone to shy away from trying to be the change that they want to see. And that is Anita Soina. What are you vying for in this current?
I'm vying for the position of Member of Parliament.
And I heard somewhere that you want to be the next Saitoti. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, I was asked if I would fit in because the late Saitoti was also a Member of Parliament in my area. Yes. And we also have the outgoing MP. As much as we aim to improve from where he left, he also tried his best. So I'm and also looking at very many young leaders across all political parties who've been able to deliver. Today you'll hear names of young people coming up when we are talking about MPs. I saw the last time we had a list of the top performers, and we had Ndindi Nyoro topping the list. And I mean, that's just something so encouraging to me that if he did it, then I believe I can even do more.
Okay, thank you very much. That is Anita Soina, who's trying to be the next Saitoti. We're wishing you the best, all the best. Very big shoes to fill, but who says age is a factor? It is not, if her story is anything to go